everyone, I'm author T.L. Price, here with you on a full moon. Tonight, we're going to be reading Realm of the Exiled, the prequel novelette in the Exiled Elemental series. Before we get started, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and the like button to make sure that you will get all the upcoming releases and information. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button. All right, so this is the book. It's a beautiful new book that's been issued. And we're going to start with a brief introduction by reading the back book cover, which tells you a little bit about the book so you know what the story is about. When the Fall Harvest Festival occurs on a full moon, danger, love, and fate become one. Nari and Kasha, beautiful elementals, unknowingly catch the attention of their demigod captors in the realm of the exiled. The demigods are not the only ones with dangerous desires during the Fall Harvest Festival. An ancient force in the civilized world wants to test the heirs of those in power, including the heir in exile. The exiled elementals will let nothing stop them from their celebration. The menu? Danger, tricks, and treats. Yet those living in the civilized world will not fare any better. The menu, deception, threats, and fine dining. Two worlds will collide as they celebrate the Fall Harvest Festival. Will the destiny of one decide the fate of the other? Realm of the Exiled is the much anticipated prequel novelette to The Exiled No More, the first book in the Exiled Elemental series, an epic urban fantasy and paranormal romance in a dystopian magical world full of metaphysical mystery and steamy romance. My holiday harvest themed prequel is fast-paced with strong-willed characters surviving an Earth created with masterful world building. Read the Exiled Elemental series and hang on. So we're about to have a whole lot of fun in this session. Okay, great. So first we're going to get started by telling you, where is the Realm of the Exiled? Well, you can start with the fantasy map. So there's this beautiful fantasy map in the beginning of your book. I highly suggest you peruse the map when you read any of my books. And the Exiled Realm is right here in a dystopian future modern Earth. I always start my books, one of my features as an author, with an epigraph. Now for me as an author, an epigraph really sort of foreshadows what you might find in that particular book. But I always write mine as a riddle. It's a riddle that I want you to sort of think about as you read the book. There's no right or wrong answer. And in many situations, you'll find out that that riddle might apply to your life too. So here's the epigraph in Realm of the Exiled. When desire and responsibilities collide, love is judged by those who undervalue your needs and those who know you need protection from what you crave. Let's get started. So I'm going to be reading from these beautiful image pages, which is a feature of this harvest theme book. So you see here the full moon, and it's perfect since tonight is the first full moon in October 2022. So chapter 1. Nari giggled as her exotic elemental tattoos roamed freely along her arms, casting beautiful glyphs circling her fingertips. She marveled as the bright green glyphs grew stronger and stronger as she cast them out into the trees. Within minutes, pomegranates blossomed on the trees, ripe for the picking. "Who wants pomegranate tarts?" she called out to the anxious children, stunned at her elemental power. Nari was the rarest of the elemental children. She could grow anything with her elemental power over plants. At just 17 years old, Nari's elemental powers were becoming the strongest among the elemental teens. Everyone clapped and cheered. But Tiago had a show of his own. He stepped forward, muscles glistening beneath his ripped shirt, and bowed to the kids. Everyone waited to see his performance. Nari and Kasha rolled their eyes, but they too wanted to see what Tiago had in store for them. His beautiful azure eyes lit with energy. Molten brown elemental tattoos with striking patterns spiraled from his fingertips and blazed through the air into the trees. A few kids jumped out of the way as the glyphs arched through the air with such force they shook the ground and trees. Suddenly, pomegranates fell from the trees, but they didn't hit the ground. Tiago was in rare form today. His magical powers held each pomegranate at eye level as the kids snatched them and carefully placed them in waiting buckets to take back to their haven. "Bravo, Tiago!" Kasha clapped as everyone joined in. Tiago's smile was like no other. He was the oldest of the group, now 19 years old. He was growing into his tall height, adding more muscles every day. It was all set against a backdrop of devilish humor that he could turn on with charm. He was breathtakingly handsome and clearly knew it. He grabbed his own bag of pomegranates. "Where are you taking those tonight, Tiago?" Kasha quipped as she snatched the bag from his hands. "None of your business," he shouted as he tried to grab them back. But Kasha's elemental speed was unmatched. Each time Tiago tried to grab her, she moved like lightning out of his reach. Red elemental tattoos shimmered along her body in a unique hieroglyphic pattern that moved faster and faster. Kasha could set the world on fire with her powers and her beauty. But Tiago was smart. He anticipated her next move, pulling the ground up around Kasha and blocking her path. She was stuck with nowhere to go as he grabbed the bag from her hands and pulled her long hair, eliciting quite a few choice words and laughter. "He's taking them to his women in the Brava," Nari playfully shouted. Yes, Tiago knew how to woo the women prisoners, giving them gifts in exchange for intel and other things that he didn't discuss with Nari and Kasha. They knew Tiago did business with a tough crowd, but that didn't keep them from constantly asking him about his affairs. As they walked back in separate groups, they looked over their shoulders to ensure that they were not followed. The exiled children were uncared for and unseen in the realm of the exiled, the notorious prison territory for the worst prisoners on earth. The so-called civilized world cast prisoners to their doom, inoculating them from conceiving children. Yet years later, numerous kids were roaming the realm, abandoned by their parents. All but Nari were born in the realm. It was the only world that they knew. But Nari knew more existed in the world, just out of their reach. But that world was now out of Nari's reach. She was exiled 2 years ago. Nari was no longer the royal brat of the ruling Guardian clan. She was a shunned prisoner, always looking over her shoulder. Despite the harsh realities of being exiled, Nari was happy to be free of her life with her wicked stepmother and father. She had a new family now, and she had power, a power that she was learning to use each day. Nari, tell us about the Fall Harvest Festival in the civilized world. The kids begged to hear stories about what existed outside the realm of the exile. I have a surprise for everyone. We will throw our own Fall Harvest Festival right here in the lava caverns. And I will make the best desserts you've ever tasted, Nari announced. We will hold it in 3 days when the moon is full. We will wear costumes, make crafts, and sing and dance. It will be the best festival ever. Nari beamed with delight. The kids were excited as they ran along the cavern, telling the other children they would have their own fall harvest festival. Tiago, you are the master of disguises. You're in charge of helping the kids find materials for the costumes. Abdul oversees crafts. Kasha oversees music. And I'll come up with the menu. Nari loved giving orders, as Tiago, Kasha, and Abdul gave her fake salutes. They laughed and continued planning their first ever festival. In the civilized world, all the ruling guardian clans celebrate the Fall Harvest Festival, which is a celebration of life and fellowship. Nari looked at everyone as they beckoned her to continue. She loved making everyone wait on her every word and smiled as one of the kids threw up his hands for her to hurry with her story. People of all ages wore elaborate costumes. The kids went door to door for treats while the adults went for drinks and exotic pastries. Oh, yummy. Nari picked up one of the pomegranates and twirled it in her hand. There were lavish parties and balloons, lights and dancing. Everyone clapped and began murmuring about their first ever Fall Harvest Festival. Nari felt pride in creating excitement for the exiled elemental children, her new family. Nari always knew she had special abilities, but it wasn't until she was exiled that she learned she was an elemental. In the realm of the exiled, as she went through puberty, her elemental tattoos blossomed, and her powers began to reveal themselves. She discovered the other elemental teenagers living in the realm, and together they began training to use their secret powers. All the elemental children had exotic tattoos that appeared when they used their various gifts. While Nari's green elemental tattoos revealed her rare powers over plant life, Tiago's powers were quite different. Tiago's molten chocolate tattoos exhibited an amazing strength that allowed him to move the ground and other matter, including breaking and reshaping objects. Kasha's red elemental tattoos could set things on fire, and her skin did not burn. Their powers also gave them speed and strength, and some had special healing abilities. However, they were not invincible, as their harsh life made clear over and over. That night, Tiago, Kasha, and Nari headed out of their haven to the more dangerous terrain in the realm of the exiled. Tiago breathed in the night air. He enjoyed the feeling of being outdoors despite their proximity to the acidic oceans that surrounded almost all sides of the realm. The realm was formerly known as the Middle East before it broke away from the continent many years ago. Though the realm still bordered North Africa, the realm could not be reached from that side due to an active volcanic ridge. Earth's entire geography changed over time due to cataclysmic changes in its tectonic plates and atmosphere during the Tracea Pangea. No one knew the cause, but they all lived in a dangerous world where the environment was just as deadly as the people fighting to survive. We need to stay low and quiet through this section, Tiago cautioned as they entered the mountainous caverns where many prisoners resided. Though the realm of the exile was a prison territory, it didn't have cells. Instead, the prisoners were bound to live as best they could in the harsh terrain with no way out. Prisoners had to make their own materials and grow their own food. Fortunately, many criminals were also skilled artisans, exiled by the ruling guardian clans. The prisoners built homes, weapons, and many other tools that made life bearable. But tonight, the smell of death was in the air as Tiago, Kasha, and Nari went about their business. Millions of prisoners were exiled to the realm, forced to live under the brutal control of the demigods who resided in the towering Overlord's fortress. Remember the rules, lady. Stay out of sight and out of mind. Keep to the crowds and blend in. And try not to get caught stealing, Tiago cautioned as he ventured off with his pomegranate gifts. We make no promises, Kasia yelled back. She grabbed Nari's hand as they ran into the Bravin quadrant, using a different entrance than Tiago. The Bravin was a dangerous trading post that offered almost everything the prisoners needed, including entertainment. Nari rummaged through her backpack. Okay, I have one bag full of goods to barter and one bag to fill with whatever loot we can lift. Nari looked around. I think we should be able to get what we need quickly, and then it's party time. She gave Kasia a high five. A few of our alliances are already at their merchant tables. Let's see them last. We might be able to lift some supplies that we can then sell to the merchants for a profit. Kasia surveyed the area, including the exits. I'll make a quick round of the place and return quickly. Kasia's elemental speed always came in handy when surveying the Bravin for goods they could barter and goods they could steal. She was back in record time. The girls were up to their usual mischief, seeking out the finer things in life that they could steal. There was one thing that Nari learned on her first day in the Exiled realm. If you wanted something, you had to take it. There were no freebies here. Most died on arrival or went insane. But not Nari. She was a survivor. And after meeting the wonderful elemental children, she was now a protector. Nari and Kasia saw Tiago laughing with a young woman as two more stood nearby, trying to catch his attention. Look at Tiago working his mojo on those women. They are falling all over him. Kasia threw a lewd gesture Tiago's way, which he refused to acknowledge. Nari threw one too, and they could see that he was trying his best not to laugh. Did Tiago give you his normal lecture? Using her best impersonation of Tiago's South African accent, Nari continued, Kasia, keep your distance from dangerous men and don't drink anything alcoholic. Kasia laughed at Nari's poor impersonation of Tiago. He's always worried about us. We know how to protect each other's backs. I think he's just worried that we will do whatever he's doing almost every night. Kasia laughed again before continuing. He's been more secretive than ever these last few days. I think he's into something that is more dangerous than usual. Well, that dress you have on is more dangerous than usual. Girl, it's cut so low that you can't bend over in it. Nari laughed as Kasia bent over to touch her toes, only to reveal that she wore a pair of stylish chainmail shorts underneath. If anyone tries to look under this dress tonight, they'll be sadly disappointed, Kasia laughed. I love those shorts. You have to promise to make me a pair. Nari marveled at the design. Kasia was quite handy at making fashionable clothing with chainmail mesh, a unique metal material that Kasia could melt down into mesh using her elemental power over fire. Yes, I'll make a pair for you. I'm sure you want me to add some of your fashionable belts and buckles to the ensemble, which seems to be your preferred style these days. Kasia looked at Nari's current dress, which had elaborately braided belts dangling around the middle in pretty colors. I've always loved accessories, especially for my hair, Nari commented. I love your hair, Nari. Most people will kill for that reddish-brown color with those long, thick curls. Your hair is down to your waist. It's so hard to maintain, though. I wish I had met my birth mother to see how she cared for her hair. My dad's hair was black, so I know I inherited my hair, my light bronze skin tone, and green eyes from her. My stepmother hated my guts since I reminded her of my mother, my father's secret lover. Nari twirled her curls, longing to know the mother she had never met. I look a lot like my mom, too, though she abandoned me so long ago that I rarely think about how she looked. We both have a deep brown skin tone, slanted black eyes with hues of red and orange, high cheekbones, and long, unruly hair. Have you ever considered going back to the fringes of the realm to look for your mother? Hell no. She left me, Kasha continued. Besides, the fringes are so dangerous that I wouldn't last one day living there now. We always had to run and hide. If you think living in the inner areas of the realm of the exiled is harsh, wait until you see how the prisoners live on the fringes of the realm. I was raised in Washington, D.C., but we traveled and lived in many places. My ability to quickly learn languages has been beneficial given the prisoners are from around the world. In fact, let's put my linguistic skills to use as we barter for what we need. Nari looked around devilishly. Afterward, we can head to the best parties happening tonight. The girls bumped their hips and then moved off into the deeper parts of the Bravin. They looked back once, but didn't see Tiago anywhere. Nari and Kasha had a very effective system to get what they wanted. Kasha would entice the merchants to look her way, while Nari would walk past and steal whatever they wanted. Most of what they stole were things the younger exiled children needed to survive the upcoming winter storms, but tonight they were looking for craft items and party supplies for their fall harvest festival. After gathering their supplies, they sent them back to their haven with a rambunctious group of preteens. Hurry back to our haven. You know Tiago doesn't want any of you here in the Bravin after midnight, Kasha yelled to the elemental preteens as they reluctantly left. The preteens were just as scared of Kasha as they were of Tiago. They both had a way of giving instructions that made you fear not following orders. Nari laughed as the young preteens dashed back to their secret haven. Nari and Kasha laughed as they moved between various merchant stalls, tents, and vendor establishments to find the best clubs the Bravin had to offer. The nightlife was vivid as prisoners dashed here and there. They could hear the techno music and knew they were getting close to the best clubs. I'll tell your future for one of those silver bangles on your wrist, young lady, a tarot card reader said to Kasha as she moved past. For some reason, Kasha felt compelled to take the offer. Sure, what do I have to lose? The night is still young, Kasha replied as she grabbed Nari's hand and led them into the fortune teller's tent. Kasha, are you serious? This is a scam. Let's go, Nari exclaimed, feeling a bad vibe about the place. The old woman was missing several teeth, and the place reeked of goat blood and something else Nari didn't even want to know about. I can tell your fortune too, young one. Sit down and I'll give you a 2-for-1 deal. The woman smiled and winked her eye. Out of nowhere, a black cat jumped over Nari's shoulder, landing on a table. It began hissing loudly at Nari. I'm not interested. I'll wait outside, Nari exclaimed as she left the tarot card tent. Kasha stayed inside, curious to hear about her future. The old woman directed Kasha to sit on cushions on the floor around a small table. The woman lit incense and grabbed a bag of bones from her pocket. That's odd, the old woman said almost to herself as she saw the smoke from the incense had turned a blood-red color. The cat jumped from the table and hid underneath a chair. Was the incense supposed to change colors like that? Kasha asked with rising unease, but the old woman didn't respond. The fortune teller looked scared, and her hands began to tremble as she stared at Kasha. Finally, The woman gathered her nerves and read the first tarot card, which said that Kasha had great power. Then the woman tossed the bag of bones onto the table. The fortune teller gasped and jumped up from her cushion, and Kasha jumped up too. "Get out! Get out! You must leave now!" the woman shrieked. "Something is coming for you." "What's coming for me? What are you talking about?" Kasha quickly cried, but the woman pushed her towards the tent door. "Hey, do you want the silver bangle? Tell me my fortune," Kasha replied, but the woman closed the tent door and locked it without another word. "What the hell was that?" Nari asked as she saw how upset Kasha was at the encounter. "I have no idea. She didn't even want the silver bangle." "I told you, it's some type of scam. The old woman is probably trying to scare you during the Halloween season. Let's go," Nari replied, trying to cheer Kasha up. Kasha wasn't going to let the fortune teller get to her. It was time for Nari and Kasha to dance the night away. Nari and Kasha entered the techno lounge and began dancing to the drummer's dangerous beat. The beat was intoxicating, driving the crowd wild. The girls fit right in, dancing and having a great time. Later that night, Tiago looked in on the girls and saw them dancing and having fun. He was tempted to join them on the dance floor, but he didn't have time. He was on an important reconnaissance mission. Seeing that the girls were okay, Tiago left to find the weapons dealers he heard were bartering something dangerous. Well, to find out what happens next and what's after the young ladies and what's going on with the weapons dealers and how their fall harvest festival turns out when it occurs on the full moon, you can purchase Realm of the Exiled at Amazon and at most bookstores. Right now, we're having a special. It's 99 cents for an ebook and $9.99 for this beautiful paperback book with the beautiful image pages. So as I said, if you didn't get a chance before, hit that subscribe button, hit the like, and follow me on YouTube and Instagram. I have a lot more in store for you. Hope you enjoyed this night on a full moon with me, reading this wonderful story. Good night.